Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. Today we have to talk about an incident that occurred in this nation that has to do with the company Amazon deciding to shut down an individual customer's smart home due to the fact that they determined that this person may have uttered something racist without any evidence. This story is absolutely insane. I think it is a cautionary tale for those of you who are over-reliant on technology, and it's very important that we highlight these stories and call out companies like Amazon, because if they don't change, you're going to have to change your behavior in order to make yourself less vulnerable to this. But before we get into that, this video is sponsored, so I'm going to go to a quick ad read, then I'll come back over here and talk about it on the other side. Americans' motivation for fitness appears to have never been higher. 42% of Americans, according to a recent survey, report that they're looking for their summer beach bod, and a lot of them are moving towards the keto diet in order to do so. If you're one of these Americans, I have a great tip for you. Go over to ketowithjustice.com right now and get yourself this amazing keto powder. This will help assist in ketosis, prolonging it, so that way you can achieve your goals without all the rigid restrictions and requirements, and this will aid you in your path. And on top of that, if you go to ketowithjustice.com right now, you can get this amazing powder for 53% off. It also comes with the 60-day money-back guarantee, plus a few other free bonus extras at ketowithjustice.com. Pursue the beach bod, get yourself in shape, ketowithjustice.com. So I saw this story cross my wire on Twitter, and initially I was quite skeptical, not because I have this faith in Amazon or in the smart devices. It's just one of those stories that sounds too good to fact check, so I wanted to wait and see on whether or not we would get verification. And fortunately, the person who was subject to this targeted harassment by Amazon, to these punitive measures without due process, to what could potentially even be illegal actions by Amazon, has submitted evidence to a YouTuber called Louis Rossman, and it has been updated in the article that I'm referencing, so I feel comfortable going forward with it. It is always important, whenever a story confirms multiple different biases of yours, or even a single bias, for you to absolutely triple check it and wait for further evidence before you just run with it. That's how you end up looking like a total idiot, and we don't like to look like idiots over at the actual Justice Warrior. Sometimes we like to be idiots, but we don't like to look like them. Now, the story goes as follows. On Wednesday, May 31st, I finally regained access to my Amazon account after an unexpected and unwarranted lockout that lasted nearly a week from Thursday, May 25th. This wasn't just a simple inconvenience, though. I have a smart home, and my primary means of interfacing with all my devices and automations is through Amazon Echo devices via Alexa. This incident left the subject of today's video with completely unresponsive devices, and he wasn't exactly sure what was the cause, because of course, these multinational tech companies feel like they can do whatever they want with impunity, without explanation, without due process, because according to them, they have a virtuous goal. And the virtuous goal, of course, that was featured in this email, that was the excuse for essentially making large portions of this individual's home unusable, was the fact that Amazon said that he did a racism, and therefore Amazon has the right to make all of the devices that this person purchased completely useless, even if they're integral to the function of his home. To me, this is an absurd stance by Amazon. This is absolutely insane. Once you buy the device, you should be able to utilize the services, and even if this was an incident where this person actually did say something that was offensive or even racist, the idea that we're going to deny a person access to the ability to turn on their lights due to their speech is insane to me. But Amazon apparently has taken this stance, and they only backed off after this person proved himself innocent with some of the very same technology that he had integrated into his home. So, the way that this worked was that he ended up receiving a delivery, and he was not home for the delivery. Now, all things appear to be normal in this situation. However, the next day, May 25th, this individual found that he was not able to activate his Echo device, and he was signed out of all of his Amazon accounts. So, like a normal person, when something like this happens, he thought, maybe I got compromised. Maybe my passwords were available on the internet.com, and somebody was trying to hack into my account, and Amazon, as a response, protected him, the consumer, the paying customer, from potential fraud. So he goes to check if his other accounts are compromised. He tries to reset his password, does all the normal things that a normal person would do under these circumstances, only to ultimately find that the circumstances are anything but normal. Now, he did contact Amazon's customer service line, and of course, they're quite dodgy on the customer service line, explaining that they sent an email telling this person why his devices no longer work, and he should read that email because that will definitely clarify this whole situation. And this is when he encountered the accusation of dastardly evil racism that was definitely evil and of course racist and of course definitely evil. Now, according to this email, he was locked completely out of his account and blocked from using the amenities in his own home due to the fact that a driver who delivered the package in question from the day before reportedly said that a racial epithet of some sort, it is completely unspecified in this video, was hurled in his direction after making such delivery. And Amazon decided upon hearing this report to remove access to his accounts, not even ask what happened, not even give a warning, not even have any concern at all whatsoever about the fact that his devices were integrated fully into his home, so he was going to essentially be locked out of accessing his home. No, they didn't do any of that. They said, you know what? A UPS driver said that he heard something, or an Amazon driver, I'm not sure exactly what the company was. Far be it for me to make assumptions of guilt in a story about Amazon making assumptions of guilt, and this was the reason that was put forward for the locking out of this person's devices. Now, of course, the punishment came initially. Amazon apparently has a policy of guilty until proven innocent. They don't do due process, and if you want to have access to your home, essentially you have to prove yourself innocent in these circumstances. Now, the person made it clear to the Amazon representatives that he did in fact have video and audio surveillance of the entire home, of the front of the home, and he could easily verify whether or not this epithet was hurled by anybody from within the home or not, if he has access to that video footage. And of course, it took Amazon over a week in order to respond and come up with a resolution. And upon examination of the footage, what did we end up seeing? That the automated doorbell system that actually responds to people as they walk up to the door and ring it didn't say anything racist at all, unsurprisingly. And the reason the automated door system being racist is what this all boiled down to, is because the time that was given, 6:05 p.m., no person was actually at the residence at the time. So essentially, they were making the case that the robot doorbell must have done the evil racism and thrown out the epithet that hurt the driver's feels so much that Amazon had to lock this person out of all of the devices that were integrated into his home. Now, it was actually said by the Eufy doorbell system was an automated response. The automated response was, quote, "Excuse me, can I help you?" Now, I have absolutely no idea whatsoever, "Excuse me, can I help you?" is supposed to be translated to in terms of a racial epithet that could have been misheard by this driver. However, I do want to point out that according to the surveillance footage, the driver was wearing headphones at the time, so of course, this is probably just a situation where the robot doorbell system said its automated response, the driver with headphones in the ears didn't recognize the response and assumed that it was racism, but to make matters worse, Amazon assumed that he was correct, and to make matters worse, Amazon assumed that an incident where an epithet may or may not have been hurled based on assumptions warranted making all the devices in a customer's home completely useless. They decided that they had the right to do this, and by the way, it should be very scary to you that they have the power to do this. Now, I'm going to link the article in full in the description of this video so you can get an idea of the timeline. It took about a week for this to actually be resolved, and of course, when you don't have access to the amenities that you paid for in your home for a week based on a disruption that is completely unjustified if true, but also turned out to be completely false. This is obviously a taxing situation for the homeowner in question. And as outlined in the piece, this has caused the customer to consider reevaluating the relationship that they have with Amazon, which I think is quite sensible. And I also think it's something that you guys should consider before you fully integrate this technology that can be quite useful into your personal lives. I mean, seriously, think about it. What if all these other major companies that express the same virtue signaling values as Amazon acted in a similar manner based on frivolous accusations of potential racism? What if your iPhone or your Google Pixel phone or your Android phone suddenly stopped working when you needed it in a crucial moment due to the fact that somebody at Apple, somebody at Google, somebody at Samsung, or somebody involved in the Android operating system determined that you did a racism and therefore you should face consequences for that? Obviously, people need phones in our modern society. I mean, you can get by without it, but it's going to make it more difficult. But you could apply this to anything in terms of smart devices. I mean, I had an issue with my car recently. It was not frame damage, it was a computer issue. But can the automotive manufacturers shut down the software in your car and stop you from being able to drive because you have some political beliefs or some untoward opinions, or may have said something that could have been misinterpreted as potential racism? That's absurd. That should be not allowed. That's absolutely insane. And yet Amazon is pushing the envelope with a situation like this, where they not only assert that they have the power to do this, but they then, of course, make you prove that you're innocent and never acknowledge fault. He did not even receive, according to this article, a follow-up email informing him that his accounts had been restored. And by the way, this goes far beyond companies like Amazon or the big ticket ones that you see. I'm currently looking into a major corporate landlord that actually uses a phone app in order to give access to people in the buildings that they're renting. Now, in this specific instance, due to the fact that the tenant in this situation requested clarification on whether or not they were obligated to pay certain fees, the response, which I assume was based solely on the pettiness of the person receiving the emails, was to cut off access to portions of the building. Now, this portion even included a staircase that you need to scan in and out of. So, of course, a situation arose where the elevators were not working, the tenant descends down the stairs, ends up on the floor where you need to scan out of. That portion of the app, which should not have been disabled, was disabled, and the tenant is trapped until a super can come and rescue them from that situation. Now, imagine this wasn't due to something like the elevators malfunctioning. Imagine this was due to a fire. Is it really worth integrating our lives with these smart devices with petty people at Amazon or in these corporate landlord offices at the helm, deciding frivolously to violate the rights of the people who pay for these services upon their whims? I'm going to go out on a limb and take a bold stance and say, I think not. I'm going to say that this is wildly inappropriate, and I think it is incumbent upon all of us, if we're going to see this technology progress in our residences, sometimes in our own homes, which you have way more control over, and I would recommend you definitely don't install in such a way, but in terms of apartments, that you have to have some rules related to this to prevent petty actors from doing this based on personal reasons or based on political goals, like was done by the people over on Amazon. Again, a driver misheard something. Whether or not it was actually said should be irrelevant, and all of the devices in somebody's home were disabled by a multinational corporation, despite that person paying for those devices and those being integral to the function of the home. If they can do this to this random person, there's a chance that they've been doing this already, and they can do it to anyone. And as we get further integrated, as the lines between what is appropriate and inappropriate get blurred, we're going to see this happen more and more often. We need some accountability for Amazon Amazon. We need some accountability for people who abuse technology in order to enforce their petty personal disagreements or in order to enforce their political agenda. And that's something that I really want you to take away from this story and from the stories that we're going to cover in the future. But hey, those are just my thoughts. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute insanity of these smart devices. Till next time.